It is late. Everyone else has gone home, or gone to sleep, or gone somewhere louder. And you are here, quiet, with a cat curled somewhere near you, not on you, not performing affection, just near. And somehow that is enough. Somehow that is exactly right. You didn't need to explain yourself to get here. You didn't need to be interesting or charming or even awake. The cat doesn't require anything from you. And for a reason you've never quite been able to name. That means everything. This video is about why. Relatable moments. There are people in your life who love you. You know this. And yet, some evenings when they invite you out, something in you quietly says no. Not because you don't care, not because anything is wrong, just because the thought of more noise, more performance, more effort, it costs something you don't have left to spend. So, you stay home. You make something warm to drink, and the cat finds you because cats always find you when you've stopped trying. You've probably been told at some point that you're hard to read, that you seem distant, that you don't open up easily. People say these things like they're problems to be solved, but what they don't see, what they can't quite see, is that you are not closed. You are just careful. There is a difference, a very important difference. Cat people tend to feel most connected in the spaces between words, in the shared silence, in the company that doesn't demand to be noticed. You've sat with a cat on an otherwise unremarkable Tuesday and felt something that is genuinely hard to explain, a sense of being accompanied without being observed, present without pressure, understood without having to perform understanding. If any part of that sounds familiar, keep watching, because there's a reason for it, and it says something very specific about who you are. Psychology explanation. Psychology has a term for people who get drained by too much social input and restored by solitude. But introversion is only part of the picture. What's more precise is this. Some people have a nervous system that is simply more sensitive, more finely tuned. They notice more. The emotional temperature of a room, the unspoken tension between people, the subtle shift in someone's mood before that person even knows it themselves. This kind of awareness is a gift. It's also exhausting. Because when you feel everything more, you also need to recover more. And recovery, for people like this, doesn't look like a crowded bar or a loud party. It looks like a quiet room. It looks like stillness. It looks very often like a cat. There's also something deeper happening, something around emotional boundaries. People who love cats tend to understand, almost instinctively, that love should not require surrender. That closeness doesn't mean merging, that you can be devoted to something without losing the outline of yourself in the process. They tend to form what psychologists call selective attachments, not because they are incapable of love, but because they are very, very intentional with it. When they choose to trust someone, that trust is real. It's just not given freely to everyone who asks. Curiosity loop. But here's what most people miss. Even people who have lived with cats their entire lives, the reason cat people feel so profoundly understood by their animals isn't just temperament. It isn't just personality overlap. It goes deeper than that. And when you see it, really see it, it changes the way you understand yourself. Deeper insight cats, unlike almost any other domesticated animal, do not perform loyalty. They do not love you because they were bred to. They do not need you in order to feel safe. A cat could theoretically leave, and it chooses not to. For someone who has spent their whole life wondering whether the people around them are there by choice or by habit, that matters more than almost anything. Cat people tend to have a complicated relationship with forced connection, the kind of love that comes with conditions attached. that requires you to be a certain way, to give more than you have, to fill a role rather than simply exist. That kind of connection doesn't feel like love to them. It feels like a transaction. What they want, what they have often struggled to find, is a bond built on genuine willingness, on consent, on two creatures deciding independently and freely to be in the same space, to trust without demanding trust in return. The cat earns your affection slowly, and you earn its. That process, quiet, unhurried, requiring nothing, is not a compromise. It is the whole point. There is also this: cats are mirrors. They reflect the energy you bring. They come close when you are calm. They disappear when the room is too loud or too tense. And if you are someone who has always felt more comfortable in quiet spaces, more yourself when the pressure is off, then a cat, more than almost any human in your life, shows you a version of yourself that is allowed to simply be. Micro stories. You've had nights where the idea of being alone felt like something to be ashamed of, where the silence in your apartment felt like evidence of something missing, and then the cat jumped up beside you, not dramatically, not with any announcement, and settled in. And the silence became something else entirely, not empty, full. You felt understood, properly understood, without a single word being exchanged, not because the cat knows your history or your fears or your particular brand of loneliness, but because it is simply there, completely there, not distracted, not waiting for its turn to speak, just present with you in a way that most people rarely manage. And you've chosen, more times than you can count, to stay home with that presence instead of going out, not out of fear, not out of sadness, but because that quiet room with that animal is where you feel most like yourself. And feeling like yourself, truly like yourself, that is not a small thing. For people like you, that is everything. People think that cat lovers are the distant ones, the cold ones, the ones who can't quite connect. But the truth, the actual truth, is almost the opposite. Cat people don't love less. They love more carefully. They have simply learned, sometimes through a great deal of pain, that not every connection is worth the cost. And so, they wait, they watch, they choose. And when they do, let someone in when they finally decide to trust. The depth of that connection is something that people who give themselves easily to everyone will never quite understand. Identity validation. If you've ever been made to feel that your quietness was a flaw, that your need for space was selfishness, that your preference for a few deep connections over many shallow ones was somehow broken, I want to say this clearly: you are not cold. You are not antisocial. You are not damaged. You are someone with a high sensitivity to the emotional weight of things. You are someone who has decided, consciously or not, that presence should mean something. That trust should be earned, not assumed. That love, at its best, is chosen freely, again and again, not performed out of obligation. That is not a limitation. That is a kind of emotional intelligence that the world is only beginning to understand. There is a kind of connection that doesn't announce itself. That doesn't need to be loud to be real. That exists in the in between, in the shared warmth of a quiet evening, in the animal that doesn't ask anything of you except that you stay. Some people spend their whole lives chasing the feeling of being known, and some people find it in the most unassuming place, in a creature that simply chose to be near them for no reason other than that it wanted to. If you are one of those people, the quiet ones, the careful ones, the ones who feel everything deeply and share it rarely, then you already know what this is. You've always known. If something in this video felt like it was speaking directly to you, it probably was. The psychology of quiet people, of selective connectors, of those who feel more than they say. There is so much more to explore. Subscribe if you'd like to keep going. The next video is waiting for you whenever you're ready. No rush.